Thanks very much for coming, everybody. So this session today, as I said, is a joint event held by the Archaeology Data Service and Wikimedia UK. I'll just give you a very brief outline of what we're going to talk about today. Essentially, we're going to provide a short introduction at the beginning of this session to talk to you about accessible archaeological resources that we hold at the ADS, the Archaeology Data Service, and how we try and make them as accessible for others to use the data that we hold in many ways as possible. We're also going to, Richard is going to take over and then talk about some guidance on how to edit Wikipedia and talk about the activities that we're going to do today. But I just wanted to provide a very quick introduction to who the Archaeology Data Service are. You may or may not have heard of us. We are a UK-based organization, and we are a digital archive that holds information gathered by UK-based heritage projects, whether that be archaeology or heritage more generally. We are based at the Department of Archaeology and the University of York, and we've been around for quite a long time, since 1996. Here's some of the smiling faces of the many people who work at the ADS. We are a growing team, some of which are here today in the Wikipedia session, so it's great to see you as well. We now hold a vast number of collections, more than 4,000 different collections, which relate to about 5 million unique digital objects in 400 different formats. And one of the things we like to do is to offer those resources as open access resources so that people can use them as part of their own research or as part of any type of information that they want, as long as they cite the data that they are providing. So what I wanted to do was give a brief introduction to persistent identifiers today, because this is one of the things that we're going to focus on in terms of this Wikipedia editing session. And it is the reason that we did this first session in the first place back in November. The ADS were trying to encourage our users to cite our resources using what we call a persistent identifier. Now, we use a particular persistent identifier called a Digital Object Identifier, or a DOI. And I just want to introduce that fact. Some people know what DOIs are, some people don't. And I think it's worth outlining that from the beginning, because it will give us a nice overview of what we're doing today and what we're trying to achieve today. So a DOI stands for Digital Object Identifier. And simply put, that's just a unique code that persistently identifies and locates content on the internet. That means by using that particular code, you can always find that piece of content on the internet. This is part one of many what we call persistent identifiers. And you may think, oh, that's a very technical term. I don't think I've ever come across that. You probably have, but you probably don't even know. And a particular, very useful and very commonly known persistent identifier that we see on a day-to-day basis is an ISBN, the International Standard Book Numbers. So the barcode that you see on the back of your books will have this ISBN number, and that is a persistent code. So that's unique to that book, and then will always point towards that book in the relevant database. So let's have a look at a DOI and how it works. This is what a DOI looks like, a digital object identifier, and essentially it's made up of 3 different aspects. The first part being the resolver, that's the website which registers that DOI. The second part being the prefix, this relates to the organization that holds a digital object. And the final part is the suffix. This relates to a particular archive or a particular digital object. And it works very simply like any URL or any particular link. You just click on that link and it will take you to the relevant resource. This DOI is one that we hold on the ADS, and this is the resource that it links to. So you're thinking, well, if we have URLs, if we have the regular web links, why bother with DOIs in the first place? What are the benefits of them? There's lots of benefits of them, really. They provide us with a reliable link on the internet. Everybody has come across that link that you might click through from a website and it's broken and it doesn't go to the page anymore. And a DOI always resolves to the object in which it's linked to, and that's in part because it's maintained, and that's in part because it's part of a wider system that allows us to continually link to that resource. It's also easier for you to cite if you're trying to cite a resource, perhaps during your own research. It's easier for you to share that link to that resource with other people that you work with. And it also links to a lot of what we call metadata, the additional information that links to that resource as well. For us as publishers, it's really useful because it allows us to understand what people are looking at in terms of our collections, and allows us to promote those collections and to share those collections more widely, and hopefully get more and more people using these resources, which are freely available for everybody to use. I wanted to highlight some of the links, the ways that we use DOIs as part of the ADS, because this will become relevant later on when Richard talks about how we're going to go about editing Wikipedia articles and providing some links to resources that we hold on the ADS, hopefully allowing us to improve the Wikipedia articles in terms of accuracy, but also link back to these open resources so that other people can improve Wikipedia in the future. So we use them in lots of different ways. This is we have a sibling publication called Internet Archaeology, and we use those DOIs to allow us to cite particular articles. You can see in this little red box here in the citation, that's the DOI that links to this particular article. But we don't necessarily just hold articles. We also hold monographs, so which are free for everybody to download. And this is what the ADS library looks like. And again, here at the top, you can see the DOI in the little red box. So there's lots of links here to a lot of the different things that we use. We also include it in what we call the metadata. So this table here, which shows all the additional information about that book, the volume, the title, the license type, the authors. There'll be one there that's linked particularly to that DOI. We also hold a number of published journal articles which relate to archaeology and heritage more generally. Here's an example called Archaeology Aliana. So if you're interested in the history of the Northeast region in the UK, this is a particularly good resource, which has been operating for almost 200 years now. So it's a vast collection of resources, and we cite the collection here using the DOI, but you can also cite the individual articles in many cases as well. As part of our work in promoting developer-funded archaeology, so this is archaeology that's linked to development within the UK, we also hold a vast collection of unpublished reports, sometimes referred to as grey literature, and those reports are available via a system that we run called Oasis. And again, the DOIs for each of those reports are linked there as well. So we're always going to have that persistent link through to these resources. Finally, we have a vast number of data sets which people can download and reuse. These include photographs of archaeological excavations. It includes specialist information about pottery and artifacts and all that kind of good information, as well as kind of geospatial information as well. So there's a huge amount of information there that people can download. And again, at the top of our pages, you can see these links through to the ADS. Now, if you're not familiar with the ADS, that's fine. This is to give you an introduction to what we might be looking at today and maybe some of the resources we'll be looking at today so that you're familiar when you click through to our pages. But again, we'll be here throughout the editing sessions and we're more than happy to provide you with some extra information. And if you're interested in how we use digital object identifiers and how that links to what we do at the ADS, we do have a page on the ADS website about digital object identifiers, how that allows us to make our data, the data that we hold for others, accessible and reusable in the best way that we can. So That's just a brief introduction. Hopefully, that's provided you with some information. But as I say, we'll be around if you have any further questions. And now I'll pass on to Richard, who's obviously our expert from Wikimedia UK, and he's going to provide us with a bit more context into how this will link into Wikipedia. So I'll pass on to you, Richard.
Fantastic. Thank you very much, Nikki. So what will happen in this section is I will talk you through a process of creating a Wikipedia account, as that's really helpful. I'll explain why it's helpful for Wikipedia and its readers to connect to the ADS using these DOIs. I mean, I think Nikki's already covered why it's useful, but just from the other perspective as well. And then I'll start going through the process of how to actually add those DOIs to Wikipedia. It's an interesting type of session because usually when we do Wikipedia training, we talk about stuff like notability, verifiability, reliable sources, neutral point of view, and all those issues which shape Wikipedia. But this is a very focused type of Wikipedia editing. So all those considerations aren't integral to what we're doing. So in a sense, it is simpler, but we're also going to be delving into Wikipedia's references, which can get a little complicated sometimes. So it's important that if you do have questions as the session goes on, or after I wrap up my piece here and we're editing away, that's not because you haven't understood what I've said, it's because Wikipedia can be complicated in some specific ways, and I'm on hand to help out with that. And because there are a couple of different ways of editing Wikipedia, I'm not necessarily expecting this to stick the very first time we go through it. So I will be sharing my screen a couple of times, probably starting and stopping that, just so that you're aware of that. Let's start with a quick look back at what happened last time we did this. So it should be starting now, the share, or my screen might have paused. Okay, it's working. When we edit today, I'll be asking you to include a hashtag in your edit summary. An edit summary isn't something I've mentioned yet. We'll come back to that. But that helps for us being able to track what the impact is. So when we had our event in November, when making these edits, we included a hashtag Archaeology Data Service. And that means we can track what's been done. So there were 270 edits across 200 pages on Wikipedia by 8 people. And as you can see, these are a whole range of topics, from stuff like Anglo-Saxons and prehistoric Cumbria through to individual archaeological sites as well. Wikipedia uses a ton of references which are in fact hosted by the ADS, but hasn't always made the connection. So we've got some headline numbers there, and if we look at the stats, we see a focus on the English Wikipedia, because that's where we started, and a phenomenal amount of edits by Kenna and Grace as well. Because this can take a little bit of time and it can be a little bit fiddly, frankly, any edits are extremely useful and greatly received. But I think it's worth saying that Kenna and Grace were the absolute heroes of that event. They added so much and so many connections between Wikipedia and the Archaeology Data Service. So I'm going to stop screen sharing just for a moment so that we have an opportunity to create Wikipedia accounts. I'm going to drop a link in the chat, which you can follow. So if you follow that link, it gives you a short form to fill out. You pick a username, a password, and your email address, which is very useful in case you ever forget your password. I would recommend perhaps picking something anonymous. You're welcome to use your real name. I do, but that's because I edit Wikipedia pages related to my area of research. And I feel that transparency is rather helpful with that. If you're at all uncertain, I'd recommend starting anonymous, as it's easier to associate that account with your real identity further down the line if you want, rather than go the other direction, use your real name, and then decide, actually, I'd rather be anonymous. My other piece of advice is choose a name that doesn't imply the account is shared. So I wouldn't say, don't create an account that is Archaeology Data Service social media officer, because that could be passed on between different people in theory. What we like is one account per person and keep it nice and clearly attributable to that person, which is actually not just good practice for Wikipedia, but it's very helpful for our licensing and copyright terms as well, because it's all about attribution on Wikipedia's side. So I'm mostly waffling at this stage so that you have a chance to create an account on Wikipedia. Hopefully the link has worked for you. If it hasn't, for whatever reason, on any Wikipedia page, if you're logged out, in the top right-hand corner will be a button labeled Create Account. So all you do is you click that and you fill in the form that appears. And let's go back to Wikipedia's front page and zoom in a bit. When you are logged in, there are a few buttons which appear in the top right-hand corner of your screen. Those are very much worth exploring. They are options which allow you to change the appearance of Wikipedia, see what pages you've edited. You have a custom feed of articles with the changes as they come through. But I'm not going to go into that much today, largely because that's not going to be the focus of our editing. So Wikipedia, let's pick an article. Wikipedia is only as good as its core ingredients. The most important ingredients are its contributors, the people writing the content. And they rely on reliable sources to decide what gets included in Wikipedia. We're talking about journal articles, books, newspaper sources, stuff which has a reputation for producing good quality content. And you find these references at the foot of every Wikipedia page. And we're scrolling quickly here. It's just to get an impression of what these references are. We're not delving into the details just yet. So here we are on a regular Wikipedia page. You'll notice the footnotes scattered throughout the text, which take you to the references. If we click on those, we can see that it tells us where this information has come from. So we've got stuff like the names of the author, where possible, title of the work, date of publication, and as much information as we can gather. Now, the Archaeology Data Service hosts a whole load of really useful sources for Wikipedia. There are the monograph series, local society journal series, specialist reports by archaeology companies. All of those are considered by Wikipedia to be reliable sources of information. And so as a result, they are used on thousands of Wikipedia pages. Now, very often these references won't actually point to Wikipedia. Sorry, it won't point to the Archaeology Data Service. In part, that's because a lot of this digitization has been taking place over the cycle of many years. And as Wikipedia pages have grown, it's been, running for 24 years. So a lot of this stuff might not have been available through the Archaeology Data Service at the time. Like, there are various journals which are viewable on, say, Google Books, either in part or in whole. So it might be links to that. But the good thing is that the Archaeology Data Service hosts a lot of these with freely accessible versions as well. So good quality scans of the source material. And so being able to point to that is incredibly useful for Wikipedia's readers, because they're just one click away for more information, and Wikipedia's editors as well. It helps them with cross-checking and verifying information. And it's quite a good signal to them as well. It's a prompt to look for more information in these sources. A fairly common approach to writing a Wikipedia page is, if you're new to the topic, you're likely to look at a similar Wikipedia page and see what kinds of references are used. So if there are links to the ADS, it's kind of setting the standard. It's showing other Wikipedia editors that these links need to be included. And so it has this multiplier effect. Not only does it benefit the readers and the researchers whose publications are easy to access, it's being picked up by other Wikipedia editors. So back in November, we added 200 DOIs during and after the event. It's a big target to aim for with this one, but we'll give it a go. Now, helpfully, I've got another link I'm going to be sharing in the chat. This will explain the workflow, which I'll be going through as well. And it links you to various searches and results on the Archaeology Data Service website and Wikipedia itself. So what I would recommend is you probably need to find a collection on the ADS, which has a good selection of DOIs. Not every series on there will have a DOI, so I recommend clicking around and seeing what you can find. And we're looking for the DOIs of individual papers, not just the collection as a whole, because that allows us to direct people to the paper itself. And when you've got that, you then add it to Wikipedia. So let's go through these steps as they're outlined and have a look at how it works. Now, I have selected one already. So the first step is to pick a collection to work with. And when you do that, it will be helpful if you can jot your username or your real name, whichever you're more comfortable sharing, into this table underneath, as that means that we can see who's working on what. Just going to clear these names for now, because these are left over from the previous session. Okay, so there's a suggestion underneath with some collections that I've looked at. You're welcome to browse the ADS yourself and see which other collections have DOIs that aren't mentioned here. It's kind of a pick your own path through this. But I picked the Archaeologia Cambrensis. So it opens in a new tab. And here we are at the interface. The column you want to keep an eye on here is access type, because it indicates whether there are PDFs available here. And if there are PDFs, there's a good chance there's a DOI to go with it. Not always, so we need to check. This first one is reference record only. So that grey book icon means that there probably isn't a DOI. So let's change the publication order. Okay, and now we've got some green ADS logos. And that says download available from the ADS. Great. That's very promising. So let's click through to the journal. So this opens up the 2019 volume. And I'm going to click on one of these papers inside. Okay. So that's useful to see because we are able to download the PDF, but I don't see a DOI here. So we'll need to go back. So it might be a case of that volume doesn't have a DOI. Let's pick somewhere else. So 2009 volume. Pick another paper. There we go. So the DOI is at the top of the page. and it's also a little bit further down as well. So with this particular series, we're going to be looking at more recent papers, but it's possible that not everything will have a DOI. So it's going to be a bit of experimentation. There will be some hits and some misses. Let's show you how it would work in any case. So I'm going to, here we are on a Wikipedia page, and we have the references at the end. So I'm going to click Edit Source, and we find the reference that we want to improve. Edit Source allows you to change the code behind the scenes on Wikipedia. There's the visual editor as well, which is a bit more intuitive, but for what we're doing, we need to do it in a particular way. So this string of text here is a reference. That gives you all the information about the author, title, date of publication, and so on. What we're doing with our work is we're going to add a string of text which says DOI equals, and then paste in the DOI we find on the Archaeology Data Service. And then underneath, I'm not going to save this just yet. This box is called the edit summary. And this is where we use a hashtag Archaeology Data Service. So that is the process for actually adding a DOI to Wikipedia. What I'm going to do now is I will stop screen sharing so that you can explore the ADS, see which series have DOIs. I suggest picking something which you're interested in, as is a good way to get a feel for the coverage. And then I want you to start looking through Wikipedia as well. So we're running two searches at once. One of the ADS to see what series have DOIs, and one of Wikipedia to see which things don't have links to the ADS. Right, okay. Here we are, and I'm going to check what the ADS coverage of the Derbyshire Archaeological Journal is like. We've got that series of green icons all the way down for all the volumes, meaning that PDFs are available. That's great. I'm going to arbitrarily pick one of the volumes. It's split into the articles. I'm going to pick one of these and see if it has a DOI. It does. So that's a good place to start. It might be the case that not all of the papers in the journal will have a DOI. So it's going to be something we check as we go along, but it's a good starting place. And now I'm going to use this link here to check Wikipedia for articles which mention the journal, but don't link to the ADS. Right, so it's a case of which one do we start with? Let's go with Pillsbury Castle. Let's scroll down to the bottom. And where is it? This one here. Let's click the edit button. So before, I showed you how to do this using the source code editor. What we're doing here is using the visual editor. Now let's see if this particular paper has a DOI. So going back to the ADS, it was volume 126. Look for Pillsbury Castle. There we go. And this one has a DOI. So that's us ready to go. Now, some references on Wikipedia will be plain text. Some will be wrapped in something called a template, which formats them in a fairly standardized way. This one is plain text. So what we want to do is go to the end of that line, click Insert, go to Template, type in DOI. And it gives us a field to paste in that DOI that we've got on the ADS website. Paste it in, click Insert. There it creates this nice link which will take the reader to the ADS website. So I click the blue Publish Changes button. Remember to include the hashtag. And click Publish Changes again. And it goes live straight away. So the very next person to load this page will have that new piece of information, the DOI pointing them towards somewhere where they can access the actual research paper. So there we go.